Eliot, how long have you been scouting for?
It's a tough question to exactly answer. So, what I've been doing stuff on my own for about 5 to 6 years.
5 to 6.
I've been doing the stuff in PFF. I started last year as my first year. Anyone cared what my thoughts were.
Yeah,
so that's, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where I've been doing a bunch of stuff on my own. I wasn't really publishing it. I was just doing it for fun. And then when I got the job with PFF, I decided that I would make a Twitter account. And then I used that, and I talked about fantasy and the draft. And people liked it, and I started doing more and more draft stuff. But I've always been a huge fan of the draft, being a Jets fan. Like, that's kind of your entire season. But it's one of those things where the most work I've done is the last 2 years, but previous years I was still looking and watching film on like 150 yards.
I didn't know if you've been doing it long enough to scout Aaron Rodgers, because I was going to see if you had something on him, but never mind that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm only 28 years old, so it's one of those things where...
At the time, yeah.
Yeah, like even if I did, like you see some of these kids are like 20 years old, and they're like, my draft board 5 years ago, I'm like, shut up.
Yeah.
Nice. You guys ready to get loaded?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Welcome to the Loaded Box Podcast.
But we never finish first, because we finish last.
Thank you once again for tuning in to the Loaded Box Podcast. I'm Ben Morgan. That was DJ Primo, and the other voice you heard that DJ was asking about scouting was Eliot Crist of the Daily Draft Daily podcast, and he's here to preview the top running backs with us in the NFL draft. So Eliot, I got to ask first and foremost, how are everything going on this Sunday afternoon?
It's going pretty well, man. I'm in better shape than DJ is right now. I'm just kind of hang in there.
Nice. DJ, why don't you give us a quick 15 to 30 seconds on your night?
Fucking had to watch North Carolina Duke at a bar that has no TVs on my phone. Got wasted after that off a lot of whiskey. Don't remember the end of the night. Now I'm in this position.
Nice. So DJ's got whiskey dick.
Yep. I'm
freezing in a basement, and Eliot, you're cool, calm, and collective, so we're going to rely on you a lot today. How does that sound?
That sounds good to me, man. I'm a Duke fan, and
DJ just
I always
left.
get these, so you're just a front runner. That's where my grandfather went to school, and basically he taught all his kids that you have to like Duke basketball. And then so when I came out the womb, I was told you like Duke basketball. Who won that game though? I can't quite remember. DJ,
I know. I barely remember. I was too fucking drunk after that, so I tried to put it on my brain.
It was 84-74 somebody, right?
Yeah,
it was like the darker blue one.
You know, it was a nice split for the season, so it is what it is. They split.
Nice. Shots
They
fired.
always split.
Yeah.
That's
kind of what I expected.
Great rivalry, and then that whole like rivalry is basically split like throughout years. Like, isn't like the points almost identical, the wins losses identical? Like, it's ridiculous.
They just do like the last 100 games, and then the numbers keep changing. It's weird, but whatever.
Nice. Well, let's dive into some NFL draft talk. This is our first position preview that we have done yet, and like I said, we've got Eliot on. He's been a guest a couple of times. We love having him on. He's one of the smarter guys in the world that I even know.
Need more people. Gotta meet more people. I'm one of the smarter guys you know. I'll take one of the smarter draft guys you know, but people in general, man, you gotta get out more.
Just in general. Just in general. It's Eliot, me, and then DJ, in that order.
A quick intelligence story, real quick. Me and my girl have Alexa, and we try to play the Jeopardy on it. Dude, I never feel dumber. Yesterday I started off 3 or 4, and I was like, yo, I'm on a roll, I'm ready. And then I went 0 for 8 filling it out. So, like, anytime I do any of that trivia stuff, I never feel terrific about myself.
Oh, that's rough. Nice.
Fucking Alexa has Jeopardy? That's sweet. I'm going to have to get it, but I don't want the government spying on me.
Oh, the government definitely spies on you.
Yeah,
it's amazing. You say something out loud, and all of a sudden you get an email. Like, we booked a trip to Italy, and then 2 minutes later, my girlfriend gets an email from some random site about Italian handbags.
That's fucked up, man.
That's creepy. Yeah, the only thing I use that for is I try to put random things on my future mother-in-law's grocery list. That's how I use Alexa. So.
There you go.
I just don't understand why I don't get like fanatics and NFL.com emails all day long about buying Saquon Barkley and Deshaun Watson jerseys. Because you would think about how many times I say those guys' names out loud, that would happen. But I guess the government doesn't care what I say.
So wait,
that's funny that you bring that up because Ben was like, "What position do you want to do with Eliot?" And I go, "Well, he said he was going to ask you or whatever." And I'm like, "I guarantee you we do running backs." I'm like, just watching Eliot's feed, he's going to choose running backs. And he texted me the other day, running backs. Like, I fucking told you.
Eliot, before we start here with your top 10 running backs, do you live with your girlfriend?
Yes.
It's concerning to me that Saquon Barkley's name is the one being screamed and not hers. But I digress.
I mean, I got my girlfriend a Deshaun Watson jersey, but we're probably for Christmas. But we're probably headed down a dangerous roll if I make all these jokes.
Right. Nice. Well, let's kick this puppy off then. Let's hear your top 10. We'll have you do one by one, and DJ and I can interject with some questions along the way. So, number 10, if you're ready to roll.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just to kind of preempt all this stuff, like my rankings aren't final at this point. We just got the combine numbers yesterday. There's a lot of information I still need to process. Guys like Ronald Jones, for example, I want to see how they run routes, and he didn't get to perform the drills yesterday because he hurt his hamstring. But I'll just go ahead and get fired up with my number 10 guy, Jalen Samuels out of NC State. I think that he's not necessarily a pure running back. He's kind of a weapon. You can play him at H-back, running back, slot receiver, boundary receiver. You can even throw him in line at tight end if you want to. Some people are saying that's where he's going to be, but he's 5'11", 225, just ran a 4.54, which is good because on tape you question whether or not he had long speed, but it looked like he does. The reason I'm so high on Samuels is because in today's NFL, teams pass 64% of the time, and that's including teams like the Panthers and Jaguars who don't throw very often. So it's really closer probably to 68, 69% of the time. Second and 5 or longer, it's over 80%, and anything over third and 2, it's almost 100% pass.
Right.
So I'm all about your impact in the passing game, and Jalen Samuels just becomes a weapon for a team where you can take advantage of his route run, you can take advantage of his intelligence as a receiver, and I mean that based on the fact that he can play multiple positions, but also that he has good stick awareness, he knows where to settle down on the zone, he can beat linebackers in space. He's just one of those guys that really is going to bring a lot to a team and change an offense. Number 9 for me is Mark Walton.
Hold on 1 second. I want to ask you real quick. Did he test with the tight ends at the combine?
He did.
Because
I think he also did running back drills too, though.
Okay, I got you. Because I didn't know too much about him going into prospecting running backs, and I just looked him up a little bit and basically echoed what you were saying there. He's kind of like he's a football player. He can do a lot of different things, and I saw him testing with the tight ends, and I don't know, just an intriguing guy. It's almost like I don't want to say that Trey Burton was a running back, but I mean in college he did a little bit of everything, and there's a use for those kind of guys in the NFL the way the game's played now.
Yeah, he's probably a better runner than Burton was. Samuels is just such a unique player because, I mean, they lined up at Wildcat quarterback. They had him at running back. He scored 16, 13, and 16 touchdowns his last 3 years. He led the NCAA the last 2 years in 20-plus yards plays. So, like, here's this guy that's not a freak athlete that makes big chunk plays that you can use in different situations. He never had more than 80 carries in a season, which is concerning as a running back, but I'm not putting him in that 20 touch per game kind of role. You know what I mean? I'm picking him as a weapon. And for example, he's right ahead of Royce Freeman for me, and Freeman had a good week, and I need to go back and watch his tape. But Freeman's one of those guys that relies on vision, and he's tested as a better athlete than I thought he would, but he's not going to bring much into that receiving game. So for me, if it's anywhere close, I'm always going to go with the receiver over the guy who isn't going to be a receiver. And to clarify that even more, I don't mean just catch the football, because I hear this all the time, man. Like, he's going to be fine catching it. I don't really care. Assuming you're not Jordan Howard, you're going to be able to catch a football. Like, your average person can catch a football. The question is whether or not these guys become route runners and chess pieces, where if you have a guy in the backfield that you can split out wide or in the slot, then you're creating mismatches all over the field. And those are the guys that really add value to a team. I mean, everyone's talking about Alvin Kamara. It's just like the year before everyone talked about Dak Prescott, where it was a guy that went later in the draft that really blew up the NFL. And, you know, they're not going to be Alvin Kamara's every year in the third round that has that kind of impact. He had a historical impact on the team. But what you saw his role was a running back / receiver that you could split out and you would get him on linebackers, or if teams had extra defensive backs, you'd then run the ball. And that's the kind of thing you really want to do in today's NFL, is create mismatches all over the field. So I think Samuel is someone like that. And then number 9 is, for me, is Mark Walton.
Hold on, I'm going to cut you off again, Eliot, because I know DJ. You said you had Royce Freeman at number 11, correct?
Yeah.
I think DJ's got a Royce Freeman question. That's one of DJ's guys. He wants to ask you a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, DJ, unhit your cough button so we can hear you, DJ.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was just curious. I forgot that I turned it on.
Hangover.
Curious that if you think that maybe Oregon running backs look a little bit better because they wear wings on their jerseys, and if the NCAA should consider banning those wings, as to not confuse my dumb brain.
I think Oregon's got a huge advantage in general, right? Because the guy from Nike went there, and
Yeah.
I forget what the stat was, but if they played one game every day with all their uniform combinations that they've already gone through, and they used like a different piece, it would take like, I don't know, like I think it was like 100 years to go through all the different jersey combinations. It's something insane.
Yeah. That's nuts.
But yeah, I actually listen. They have the Stormtrooper. They got the breast cancer awareness ones. They got some fire jerseys.
Yeah, but the wings seem like cheating.
The wings are clearly
All right.
cheating. All right, number 9, Eliot.
Mark Walton is pretty similar reason for Jalen Samuel. He reminds me of a Giovanni Bernard. He's not this guy that's necessarily going to run between the tackles and do an extremely good job. He's not the kind of guy that's going to hand the ball 20 times. He lacks long speed. It's something on his tape that I saw, so I'm not going to hit him too hard for the 4.6, 4.40 he ran. I'm huge into, does the 40 confirm what I saw? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to double count it. So if he's doesn't have long speed on tape, and I'm fine with him there, then I'm not going to then knock him when he doesn't have long speed on the field.
Right.
But Walton is a really good receiver, and he's a really good pass protector. So those are two things I really like about him. And then when he does run between the tackles, he has good vision. He has really good contact through balance. I think he's the kind of guy like Bernard that fits that third down role really well. And if your main guy gets hurt in front of him, then he can step up for 4 to 5 games and handle that workload.
Yeah, he was.
Go for it. Sorry.
I was going to say, he was dominating pre-injury, and I know a lot of those games were maybe against lesser opponents, but I think he was close to like 7 yards per carry for a while there. Injury happened. Miami kept rolling until the end there.
That Toledo game, a couple of his biggest runs, those guys just took the worst angles I've ever seen.
Right.
So like that's another thing. We'll talk about Penny coming up a little bit. You see some of that too. But,
Yeah.
and I had him go for it.
Okay, so I like that you brought up I wanted to hit on this at some point, and you said it, but I like that you brought up the concept of the third down running back, because I wanted to go into that for a second, because some people, I feel like third down running back goes off of a fit for a team, right? I think when people hear third down running back, they just think receiving running back, or a guy who can catch the ball, and it can catch it out of the backfield. When I think it's a combination of that, and the Packers used their third down running back was like John Kuhn for multiple years, a guy that could pass block. So I think that you hit on whoever, just Mark Walton, how he can block and catch. I don't think it's a guy who can purely catch out the backfield. So the concept, I think, of third down running back is sometimes skewed in people's brains, and I just wanted to get that out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Peyton Manning used to talk about it all the time, where if you're running back on my team and you can't pass block, you can't play.
Yeah.
So Mark Walton's really good as a pass protector. That's why I gave him the Bernard comp and not like a Chris Thompson. I don't think he's not the athlete of Chris Thompson, but Thompson can't block, for example. So you know if he's on the field, he's running a route every time. Bernard can stay in and pass protect, and Walton will lose on pass protection, but I don't know if a back tries harder than he does in pass protection. And effort's half the battle with these guys. He'll take on linemen all the time. Miami will slant the protection to the right, and he'll pick up a free edge rusher on the left, heads up. Now, that doesn't always go well for him, but I'm not going to knock him every time that a 290-pound guy runs through him. Right. That's more on Miami's scheme, but the fact that he's willing to do it and has success doing it, I'm going to bump him up a lot.
And even so, if you give a guy, a good quarterback, another, just by getting in his way for another, quarter of a second, can be enough time to give him, give a quarterback time to make a good throw.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That half second is a century in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Eliot, I'll probably ask you this for all the guys moving forward too, but with Walton, which current NFL team do you think he'd be a good fit for, and maybe what round would they be targeting him? Feel free to say pass if you don't want to do it.
I think Walton will go like 4th, probably. I mean, this running back class is really good. It's like last year's, where last year's class was incredible. If your favorite NFL team doesn't have a running back after this year, like, you need to go talk to your general manager because he needs to be fired.
Right.
So I think probably around 4, and then you start looking at a lot of different teams that could use that pass catching back. I mean, it really becomes pick your team. I'd like to see him on the Ravens, for example, because I think Collins really came on strong, but they don't have a pass catching back. They don't have a lot of weapons in general, and that's a team that could really do well with him.
Nice.
And they could have that Jeremy Hill, Giovanni Bernard, but probably better combination.
I was going to say, who the fuck is Jeremy Hill?
Yeah, you used to love Jeremy Hill.
In terms of the logical.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
Nice.
So then 8 is Kerryon Johnson out of Auburn. My comparison for him is Draymond Green, and people are like, he plays basketball, and I'm like, oh, whatever. I love when people need to point out things that I'm well aware of at this point. But Johnson is one of these guys that, like, Green has great defense, but he's not great at anything else. He's just good at a whole bunch of stuff. Like, when you watch Johnson, he doesn't really have a big glaring weakness, but he doesn't have a ton of strength. Like, calling cards, trump cards, does something elite other than his toughness. But he's a guy that can pass block. He can run some routes. He's very comfortable catching the football away from his body. I don't know if he'll be a receiver as much. He's got really good patience, good vision. He's got some elusiveness and wiggle to his game. He can put his foot in the ground and explode. He's a very smart player where he sets backs up for different situations because he can run through your face or he can make you miss. And so it's one of those situations where if he's run through the last 3 defenders' face, and then this time he's going to hit him up with a move, the defender's not going to know what's coming. So he's a very crafty back in that way.
Yeah.
I don't know what his ceiling is. I don't think he has the ceiling of the other backs, but I think his floor is very high.
Can we make a new rule moving forward? Because DJ and I aren't the biggest fan of player comps, like NFL to NFL guys.
Yeah.
I feel like we should always do cross-sport player comps moving
I'm
forward.
going to be honest, though. That confused the fuck out of me because I was like, who the fuck is Draymond Green in the NFL? My brain went to like a whole other fucking, I'm hungover, you can't be doing that to me.
When I had my podcast with Thor Nystrom from Roto World for Kerryon Johnson, his player comp was an MMA fighter.
Nice.
So we did a whole podcast on Kerryon Johnson without actually comparing him to an NFL player. And just real quick, when I compare someone to an NFL player, I'm not saying this is their career.
Yeah.
Like, you will not catch me just, a lot of people are like, oh, he's 6'5" and 220, and he's 6'5", 220, they're the same
Right.
player. Like, that's their player comp. Like, that doesn't help me at all.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I can search mockdraftable.com, and it'll tell me the most similar athletic profile to somebody. I don't really care. I'm trying to give you a trait or two in their game that's similar to a player. So when you think of him, you're like, okay, so Mark Wallen is similar to Giovanni Bernard. So he's going to pass block and catch the ball well. Same time, he's got some shake, and if you need him to handle a workload for a few games, he can do that. My Jalen Samuels comp, I don't think I said it out loud, was Rex Burkhead of the Patriots this year.
Yeah, fucking Rex Burkhead.
So a guy that you can move all around the field. You saw him in the slot a lot. He caught a lot of passes. He wasn't necessarily the guy, but he was good in the red zone as well, and you could rely on him in important situations.
Nice. I like
so
that.
You compare him to Rex Burkhead means he's going to be the best running back in the NFL then.
Oh, gosh. DJ's got a slight hard-on for Rex Burkhead.
I'm a Nebraska fan, so.
I like that idea. I like that idea of doing like a trade or two that you can do. And by comparing him to Draymond Green, it sounds like Kerryon Johnson may go around kicking guys in the junk. But that's
that would be amazing if that's what it was. But it's one of those situations where I'm trying to just basically say that he's not going to be great at a whole bunch of stuff, but he's going to be good at a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah.
We're gonna. When we talk about our number one, I think we all can probably go out and say it right away that Saquon Barkley is going to be our number one. And I know DJ's going to bring something up that's going to spark a little bit of a debate. But I wanted to just pipe in here because Johnson, right for now, for me, is the running back from this draft that I really like. Based on his talent and where you'd end up probably picking him. And that's just kind of how my theory on running backs goes, and we'll get into that here in a second. But the thing about Johnson is pretty much everything he does is from the shotgun or the wildcat. And I'm not, back in the day, I would count that against him, but now several NFL offenses basically operate that way, so I'm not really all that concerned about him. The thing about watching him, too, he looks bigger than he is. He's 6'2", 210, but he just plays with this level of explosiveness. I was looking at his combine numbers. He had the second best 40-inch vertical for running backs at 40 inches. What did I say there? I said 40-inch vertical?
Yep.
He had the second best vertical, though, the third best broad jump, and it surprised me that he only had 11 bench press reps, but I still think he plays with more power than that, and they don't really seem to take him out when he's near the goal line either. So
the thing is you don't run with your arms bent, so...
Yeah, I'm aware of that. But
I'm proving your point.
Yeah.
I mean, the power doesn't come from your arms.
Right, so I'm not really all that worried about that. So I was going to ask Eliot, so you don't really think he can really be the guy, but more of like a change of pace, dual running back guy, like a 1-2
punch?
punch?
Basically what I'm saying is he doesn't have the ceiling of some of these other guys. Like some of these other guys can turn into top 8 backs, top 5 backs. I mean, I think Barkley's going to be the best back in the NFL, but that's their ceiling. I think Johnson's one of those guys that's like a good NFL player that's probably going to stick around for 8 to 10 years, be the number 1 guy on the team. But, you know, he's one of those guys every year in fantasy drafts, you take him in the 3rd or 4th round because you know he's going to get the volume and he's a good player, but, like, he's not someone you ever want to build your team around.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yep, I got you now. Cool. All right, let's go on to, what are we on, number 6?
7, I believe.
7. We got Samuels, Walton, Johnson.
Rashad Penny, and he may even move up a little bit more. He really impressed me with his combine workout. I didn't expect him to have 4.47, 4.46 speed. I thought he was more in the 4.5 range. It's one of the knocks I had on him, that I thought he had good speed but not elite. And some of the angles that he created weren't going to be able to be sustainable in the NFL. But seeing that time, I realized that was a mistake on my end, and I'm going to go back and watch him. He has very good vision. He's got very good patience. He's got good strength. He's got good elusiveness. He's really good in between the tackles. Here's my issue with Penny. And I may be knocking him for this a lot more than other people, because you'll see Penny very high on people's boards, higher than mine. He can catch the football, but he's not a good route runner. He shuffles some of his feet. He struggled in the Senior Bowl with this, by all reports in the practice. My biggest issue with him is his pass protection is the worst I've ever seen. From an effort standpoint, from a technique standpoint, from an anything standpoint. I mean, he will get run through, run by, he'll drop his head. He just looks like he legitimately doesn't know what he's doing.
Right.
And that's something he really struggled with in the Senior Bowl. He came out and said, like, this is something I really need to get better at. There's no drill that's going to show me that he got better at that either.
Yeah, the thing about pass protection, too, is that's literally one of the traits that will make a coach keep a player off the field. Just because if they can't do it, they know, well, he's in there, they're going to run the ball. They're not going to trust him in pass pro. And that just kills a lot of young running backs.
So that's my second point, is that people say, well, you know, Chris Thompson can't block, so it doesn't matter. He can be a good 3rd down back. And my response is, Rashad Penny's not anywhere close to that kind of receiver. If he's adequate to a below adequate receiver, they're not going to spend a ton of time with him trying to get that 3rd down role. I mean, obviously a guy can get injured in front of him and then he can have that boom. But to me, he's kind of like a Carlos Hyde runner, where he's going to really struggle as a receiver. And I think Hyde finishes PFF's worst pass protector of all running backs this year. And Hyde had a lot of catches, but if you watched it, everything was just C.J. Beathard dumping the ball off to him. He's not running routes. He's not really doing any of that stuff. But Hyde runs with good pad level. He's got good vision. He's shifty. He's pretty fast. So I think that's the kind of guy that Penny reminds me of.
So he gets a little bit labeled as an upright runner. Do you think that, that terminology, that running style, is a negative? Or do you think it's something that coaches should try to correct? I mean, I kind of look at it as a quarterback's throwing motion. A lot of times coaches want to try to change that and alter that, but then you're kind of messing with his entire game. So at the running back position, if you're labeled an upright runner, do you think it's wise for a coach to try to teach that, or do you just let him go? He's gotten this far with it. He's had success. Do you just let him go with it?
So the thing about being an upright runner is it creates a bigger target, right? Yep. And the more room they have to hit you, the more likely you are to get injured and get tackled. So it's a negative, but at the same time, you do have a good point that sometimes that's just how these guys run. Like Peterson was an upright runner his entire career.
Yes.
And it's just kind of what he did. So it's tricky. So to answer your question, I think it depends. I think it's one of those things that when he comes into OTAs, you work on him with.
Mm-hmm.
But like if it affects his running style or he's just not doing it, you start moving on to other things.
Right. Nice. Alrighty, let's move on to your next guy.
So number 6 is Nick Chubb. Chubb, for me, yeah, you can insert boner joke, but
Yeah.
Chubb for me.
He caught us.
I just thought about 18 different boner jokes there. But anyway, moving on. So Chubb is really, really, really good between the tackles, whether it's power, whether it's long speed, whether it's his patience, his pad level. He's really a complete back in between the tackles. Anything that you point to is going to be nitpicky. We just saw him blow up the combine. He's a very good athlete. Where he can struggle some is laterally, and that's where I have concerns about him. He hasn't caught more than, 7 passes in the season since that devastating knee injury.
Yeah.
Because he used to be that. And then I think, and I was talking to Charles McDonald, who's watched him a ton as a Georgia guy, and he was telling me that Chubb hasn't been the same laterally since he hurt his knee. Everything else has returned. So for me, I don't know if he profiles as this route runner. When I watched him in the combine, he didn't look comfortable catching the ball. I know people are going to point out that he caught passes, but he didn't look like a natural hands catcher. And when you add in that, his lateral ability and the fact that he didn't really look comfortable in pass protection this season, I think he kind of gets to be that 2-down guy, and that's why I have him as a 3rd-round grade. His in between the tackle stuff, like if this is 10, 15 years ago, he'd be like a 1st-rounder.
Oh my God, I was literally going to say that exact same thing about him. That's funny.
Yeah, because if you watch his game, if you're finding stuff between the tackles that you have issues with for him, it's you're really nitpicking. But that 3rd-down ability and that pass-catching ability is what really makes a running back's value in this today. Like, it's 2018, man. That's what we're doing with running backs. I talked to J.J. Zachariason about this because he's team, like, you can't draft a running back in the 1st round, and we talked about it for a while, and we talked about why Saquon Barkley is the exception to that rule, because and Alvin Kamara last year proved that he was worth the 1st-round pick if they would have taken him because of his receiving ability. That's what really, all the data points point to their value is receiving. So for me, Chubb is a really good player. He reminds me of someone like Jonathan Stewart in terms of his role in the Carolina Panthers. Like, you're never going to throw, he might catch 5-10 passes a year, but that's not what he's going to do. But Stewart 3-4 years ago was incredibly effective in between tackles. A guy that the Panthers really could build their power scheme around. And I think you can do that with Chubb. I think he'll probably get 1,000 to 1,300 yard rushing years multiple times. Like, I think he's going to be a really good NFL player, but he's got a role, and his role is less valuable than other pass-catching players.
Yeah, you pretty much said exactly what I was going to say exactly what I had written down about Chubb. I think he's going to be better out of like you said, 10 to 15 years ago, he'd be a top-tier running back. The negative I saw on him was, I noticed in some of the tape I was watching him, he's got kind of stiff hips, and doesn't seem to be super agile in the open field. I thought that was the huge difference between him and Sonny Michel. So that was my biggest negative on him, and I think that may go back to the injury, maybe, because he kind of shuffles at times.
Yeah. I think that the injury affected his lateral ability.
Yeah.
I can pull up right now what his testing numbers were. But yeah, like for example, his vertical jump, his broad jump, which tests explosion, were very good. They're in the 89th and 94th percentile. His 40-yard dash for his size is really good. And then his 3-cone was in the 42nd percentile.
Jesus.
So like that shows you it was 7.09 seconds, which isn't horrible, but it's one of those situations where it kind of talks about his lateral agility and why I think that it caps his ceiling.
Yep.
Do you have an estimated round team that he'd be a good fit for?
I think he's the perfect fit to replace Jonathan Stewart. I mean, I just talked about that's his player comp. You're talking about a power scheme, a guy that would match perfectly with Christian McCaffrey's skill set. Really takes some of the load off Cam Newton running between the tackles. I think Cam's running ability is huge, and it's what makes him a successful quarterback. I don't want him not to run, but I just mean the kind of guy that can take some of the load of, he doesn't need to, run on 3rd and 1. You can just hand that ball to Nick Chubb, and he'll get those yards. And their power scheme would fit his skill set really well.
Yeah, somebody like that, and Tennessee-like offense. It seems like a good one for him too. But obviously they have Derrick Henry, so.
Yep.
My only negative on that was the player comp. I was thinking more like a Bonzi Wells or someone, but I guess I can get behind Jonathan Stewart.
Nice.
That's how you want to do this. But
So when you do that, like I'm not, like for example, my player comparison for Josh Allen has been Kyle Bowler for months, and so everyone says, so you say there's a 0% chance he has any success, and that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to think of like a similar prospect that was all athletic ability at quarterback without any of the traits. With Bonzi Wells, are you trying to say that you don't think Nick Chubb's any good?
no, Bonzi Wells had a nice NBA career. I don't want to take him down on that. I just thought he was a little bit bigger guy. He was a role player, and like I said, I think Chubb would be a great guy in the NFL a few years ago.
I'm thinking of Beanie Wells, the running back from Ohio State, when you said Bonzi. That's why I had that whole thing, because he was a late first-round pick for the Cardinals and flamed out real early.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I thought you were talking about, because he was a big dude, too. So my bad.
No,
my bad. That's my bad.
No worries. That Wells was terrible. I would say that Nick Chubb will be better than him. No worries on that. All right, let's look at number 5, I believe we're on.
So I'm lower on Ronald Jones than other people. I still think he's got a high ceiling. I think it's pretty interesting that he gets the Jamal Charles comparison. I think that's because he's black with dreads and wears 25. I think that's how a lot of people.
That's a lot of it.
That's another thing with player comps. A lot of
If he
people
was 20
do their
pounds
looks.
heavier, he would be Melvin Gordon, because people only compare people based on who they look like. So shout out to me for comparing Jalen Samuels and Rex Burkhead, because those dudes don't look similar.
Yeah, no, nice call.
Jones has
the world.
Yeah. Jones does have really good speed, so that's the other aspect of it. Like, he ran the 4.66, but he stopped running the 40. I don't know why people even reported it, because he pulled up lame and then finished it. I don't know why that guy reported it, so that's dumb. But he's real good between tackles. He is an upright runner. He's very skinny. He has that home run ability. He's got good vision. He's got some elusiveness. He's got pretty good contact balance, even though at times he will fall over. He'll go down with first contact a little bit too easily. Once he gets an open lane, you're not going to catch him. He looked incredible against a team like Western Michigan, where he just plays at a different level. Against some of the bigger schools, he looked good, but not as elite. My issue with him is that, he never caught more than 14 passes in his entire career, including high school.
Wow.
And now people are going to say, well, that production in college doesn't mean they can't produce in the NFL, and they're not wrong. And he does have some of the traits that you would think would translate to a receiving back, not just a dump-off guy, but a receiving back. My thing with that is that, one, if they never even got him to try to do it, like, all he ever really did was run flare routes at USC. They put him at wide receiver once in a while, and when they did, they made him the lead blocker on screens, which, for me, is an issue with USC's coaching staff.
Right.
He wasn't great in pass protection, didn't have terrific effort. So for me, it's one of those situations where he's one of the more unique guys, because he profiles as a guy that can catch the ball. Didn't necessarily look great doing it when he was asked to do it. Didn't run routes, and never has really been asked to do it. And for me, I really want to see him run routes to the combine and see how comfortable he was doing different things and how comfortable he was catching the ball. And I didn't get an opportunity to do that. But that's my big knock on him, is I don't know if that's what he's going to be used for. And if he's not, then we're talking about a 205-pound in between the tackle guy. And there's not really very many of those guys.
Exactly. The thing, too, about like college football fans, the eyes of many of those fans this year with USC were focused on Darnold more than Jones. Plus, they have that disadvantage a little bit with playing on the West Coast, so they're just generally not seen as much. So is there something that you can tell, like the fan of whatever team that drafts him, the top thing that they should actually be excited for? Because a lot of people know this guy's name, but they probably just haven't seen that much of him.
Well, it's his home run ability. I mean, his ability to exploit out of cuts, his lateral agility, all that stuff. He's got really good vision, especially on like stretch and outside zone stuff, where he's allowed to use his patience and explode through a hole. A lot of what he got was blocked for him, and then if he needed to create out his own, it wasn't the strength of his. But he also has pretty good stick awareness. Like if it's 3rd and 2, he's going to do his best to get those 2 yards. So I think everything between the tackles is the stuff you really like. But again, you're talking about a 205-pound guy. 6 foot, 205 pounds. There are not a lot of those guys in the NFL, and when there are, they tend to be a guy like Christian McCaffrey, where we're talking about an elite receiver.
Right.
And he doesn't profile as that. So those are my concerns.
Did you have a comp for him? Did I miss it? A player comp?
Did I write one down? I don't think I wrote one down, to be honest with you. Off the top of my head, no. I mean, I could really think about it and get you one, but like people keep calling him Alvin Kamara, and to me that's silly.
Right.
Again, he's not a receiver. So the Jamal Charles is a good receiver too. So
Yeah,
he's
he was.
not a receiver. So
I think the other thing with Jamal Charles is his running, like you said, he's a straight up runner. He kind of runs like him as well.
yeah, no, there's aspects to his game that are Jamal Charles like, and you just lose me with the like that's a ceiling, I guess, but you lose me with his receiving ability.
Yeah.
So like I've heard LaShawn McCoy because of his cutting ability and open field ability, but again, McCoy's a better receiver. So to me, it's one of those things where I got to see his receiving ability, and that's the thing that's holding me back on him.
Nice. Well, let's go on to your number 4 guy. Now we're getting into the guts of this puppy.
So yeah, this is the guy I'm higher on than most people, and it's going to be John Kelly out of Tennessee.
Wow, I am shocked. I love it.
Yeah, so here's a guy that doesn't have breakaway speed. He didn't run the 40, but it's very obvious on his tape. His agility scores weren't great, but it's one of those things where his moves are similar to Dalvin Cook, where it's not necessarily to make you miss as much to get you off target. So the lateral agility worries me less than other people. He's so physical, man. So
Big
physical.
time.
Through the first 5 games of the college season, he broke more tackles per touch than any other player in the NFL. He's a great receiver, 37 catches, really developed route tree. He breaks down linebackers. You can split them out wide. He's just a tough dude. He's 216 pounds. He measures exactly the same size as Kareem Hunt. Got a little Kareem Hunt, Alvin Kamara to his game where you're talking about a power guy you can get in space and run through people, make people miss. He's got the best stiff arm in the class. He can use it to throw you 10 yards, or you can use it to slightly adjust your target point, at which point you're off target, and then his contact balance, which is up there with anyone in the classes as well, allows him to break the tackle and extend runs. So for me, he's one of these new age running backs where because he's such a good receiver and he's got this power between the tackles, he's one of these weapon guys that I'm very high on.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of John Kelly, and you talk about when you're doing player comps using like a trait or two, and I literally watched Kelly just take over against the Gators last year, and when he runs the ball, he looks like Jarvis Landry with the ball in his hands because he's not the fastest guy in the world, but he throws defenders, he bounces off them, and like you said, like if he gets hit, he's keeping his balance and he just keeps going forward. And like you said, he's listed 5'9", 6 foot 205. He's not the biggest guy, but he plays with that Landry-like aggression where you just kind of throw the measurements away.
Sorry, go ahead. Being short can shorter can help you break those tackles because that gives you a lower center of gravity. So that's actually an advantage of being 5'9" in this position.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he literally measures out to the same exact measurements as Kareem Hunt, from weight to height to whatever.
I was a little nervous right away because you didn't have Kelly as one of your top guys, and I'm like, oh, shoot, this is a guy I'm going to have to bring up. I didn't know if he was going to crack your top 10, so I'm pretty excited to see him at 4.
Yeah, no, he's 4. He's ahead of a lot of these other mainstream guys like Jones and Penny.
Nice.
Again, that third down ability is everything to me. I don't know how many times I can say it on here, on my podcast, on Twitter, but it should be everything to you too because it's the direction the NFL is headed. And that's where the value for running back is. So you're talking about a guy like Jarvis Landry out of your backfield that will run through someone's face that is also a great receiver and break linebackers down and can catch the football and make plays with it. Like that, to me, that's the guy I'm building. That's the guy I want on my team.
Yep.
He reminds me a little bit of Alvin Kamara. He's not quite the athlete Kamara is, but like in terms of his role, I know I'm picking a black dude from Tennessee, and but like a lot of his game is similar to Kamara, and I know his efficiency numbers 2 years ago was a little bit better than Kamara's at Tennessee. And the one thing that's concerning with Kelly, and it's really hard to analyze, is that like he smoked weed and got suspended. I don't care he smoked weed. He can join the other 95% of NFL players that smoke weed. But the whole team quit after the Georgia game. Like the coach was on the hot seat. Everybody knew he was leaving. Everything just kind of went to shit. And when you watch the games, like you don't really know what's being blocked in front of him. Like everybody quit, and his numbers just dropped tremendously. So I think the reason he's not so high right now is because a lot of analytics guys that love the broken tackle stuff and missed tackles are using the whole season data, which isn't that impressive. But if you use his 5 games where the team was trying, his numbers are incredible.
I agree. Yeah, I'm totally with you. I think a team is going to get a steal here because he's not going to be one of those top guys going. This class.
Oh no, I have a
is
segment
deep,
rate on him. He won't go to the 4th round, and then
yeah,
that's the guy that I'm gonna do more dynasty leagues than I should, just so I can get more John Kelly shares.
I like it. Well, you ready to break down the top 3?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's lead it off with number 3.
Sony Michel. Michel is a home run hitter. He's got really good vision. He's got good contact balance at the second level. The thing I love about Michel is once he gets to his second gear, he's really hard to bring down. He gets to his second gear very quickly. He might not be the fastest guy, but again, that acceleration is terrific. If you get him before he gets to second gear, so like at the line of scrimmage, he's not that powerful. But he's got really good vision, really good anticipation in terms of when blocks are going to open up for him. He's a good route runner. He didn't do as much this year, but you've seen it in previous years. He profiles as a good receiver. He's caught over 20 passes. That number seems silly, but when you look at the guys that have been successful receivers in the NFL, most of them have had over 20 catches in their career or in a single season. Michel's also an elite pass protector. He'll take on players. I mean, in the Alabama game, he took on De'Aaron Payne, heads up, won that one. He took on Minka Fitzpatrick, Blitzig, who's one of the best secondary blitzers in the country. He won that one against Notre Dame. He finished the block. He picked the safety up and slammed him, which you don't ever see out of a running back. So here I got a guy that can win in the receiving game, who's got really good vision, who's got home run hitting ability, and is a great pass protector. For me, that's the complete package and something I'm looking for.
Yeah, when I see a guy that has great vision, I immediately perk up, and that's what I saw out of Sony Michel. I love him. I like got just in the last couple of days a man crush out of him, but I definitely have to watch more of Sony Michel. But so far, so good for me.
He also had the benefit, and same with Chubb, of running behind one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, and that's something we'll bring up when we get to Barkley in a minute. But Georgia in general, Chubb and Michel were fantastic. They also got to be fresh at all times and run behind one of the best offensive lines. I mean, Wynn's going to be a first-round pick this year, and there are other 4 guys, all profiles NFL players. So it's one of those situations where they had the ideal situation for a running back, and if the team was a little tired and Michel was in there, he was running right by him.
Oh,
so
easily. Yeah.
I don't want to call that a concern, but it's just one of those things to keep in context when you're looking at some of his numbers.
I was going to go the other way with it. Do you think Michel's draft stock goes up due to that low mileage, never really having to be the guy?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I was just trying to say that that's why his numbers can look so incredibly efficient.
Yeah, I just think teams might even look at it like he's fresh.
The only question for Michel is, can he be the guy?
True. Just because he's never had that.
He's another guy where I think he's got good agility, but it's not great. And a lot of his stuff is to get you off target because of his contact balance and ability to run through tackles. And if you don't get him clean, he's going to stay up. So,
man, how spoiled.
He reminds me of Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
He's a better pass block than Dalvin Cook.
How spoiled have Georgia fans been with running backs recently, though? You go from Gurley to Chubb to Michel. It's ridiculous.
You could do running backs. You could do quarterbacks. They just get all the 5-star quarterbacks and running backs every year. I mean, next year they're going to have Swift and what's his name? Holyfield, am I getting that right? The 5-star kid that's supposed to be insane, and he was their RB4 this year.
Jeez,
Elijah,
that's insane.
Elijah Holyfield, I believe.
Wow. Yeah, they're just stocked. It's tough being a Gators fan because I love that rivalry, but it has not been a matchup recently. Man,
I'm blanking on their quarterback. What's the fucking quarterback's name?
The freshman kid?
Yeah.
From.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was watching him, and I said this on Twitter, but when he would let the ball go, every now and then, it looked like it would slip out of his hand, and it was about to fly like 500 feet out of bounds, and it would be right on target. Was anybody else noticing that, or was it just me?
I honestly wasn't looking for it, but it's certainly possible.
He confused the shit out of me multiple times. I'm like, this thing's going 15 yards out of bounds. It would be right on target.
Well, he doesn't necessarily drive through the football, so
yeah, that could have been it.
Loftier passes. And, Georgia just went from Nick Eason, too, who's a 5-star recruit, and then they just got the number 1 quarterback in the country to go to their school. So I don't know, who Georgia's paying, but they're paying the right people to get the right recruit. Yeah.
No kidding. Yeah, I was just going to say, they just got the number 1 quarterback recruit as well. So, I don't know. Maybe they'll come up with some sort of innovative offense where you can use 2 quarterbacks. That's what I would try to do. I don't know.
There is a team that did that a few years ago.
How'd it work?
Louisiana Monroe did it against Baylor when they were like 40-point underdogs.
What?
They came out with a right-handed quarterback and a left-handed quarterback.
Oh, I
they
love
ran
it.
zone read the whole game. And they put up like 35 points on Baylor the first half. And then Baylor adjusted to it, and it did not work in the second half. They ended up losing by like 7 or 14 points. But I remember watching it. It was like a Friday night game, and I had nothing to do, and I threw it on. I was like, I've never been more excited to watch the next offensive play than two quarterbacks running his own read throwing the ball. Baylor's defense was so confused.
Oh my God, that's awesome. Nice, I love it. Let's
I gotta
break.
watch that.
No shit. Let's break into the top two. Who's right behind Saquon Barkley?
Darius Geis. So, did you like Geis?
He just gasped on you.
I'm not excited about him, but go ahead.
So, for me, Geis is one of these guys that is an incredible in between the tackles runner, a really good athlete. Great power, great vision, can make you miss, can run through you. Was comfortable catching the ball, didn't do a ton of it. He may just end up as a dump-off receiver, not a receiving option. He had some good pass protection reps and some really lazy ones. He yelled at me on Twitter for saying one was lazy by telling me that he told me the quarterback was supposed to throw the ball faster. And it was a quick read play, but that just because he's supposed to throw the ball faster doesn't mean that you get to stop blocking. You know what I mean? Like, you still should block till the play's over.
That is fantastic.
I'm not going to go at it with Darius Geis. Like, I'm rooting for him to be successful, but it was one of those situations where I was kind of like, that's not really relevant. I understand you were the help, but your help, you stopped blocking, and then the guy ran and lit up the quarterback. You need to continue to block until the whistle's blown. Like, that's an effort thing. So I feel like you were just making an excuse, but I'm not trying to shit talk Darius Geis.
No, he's a big guy. Don't do it.
That guy would trash me in real life as a hell of a football player.
But it's funny, and it makes for a great story, so I'm glad that happened.
But, like, he's better between the tackles than Saquon Barkley is, but again, his route running and catching, he looked like a natural catcher in the combine, which was good for me, but I think he's going to be like a Leonard Fournette receiver where a lot of it's dump offs. You're not going to split him out wide. He's not going to win those kind of ways. But his balance is terrific. His power is really good. His leg drive's great. His 2016 is the tape you need to watch because his 2017
Talking about this, yeah.
was where he got hurt. Now, the counterpoint to that, and the one that I can't find anyone else making, and it was one of the reasons why I'm lower on him than others. Like, Michelle may end up with a higher grade than Geis when it's all said and done for me, is because that violent running style has led to a lot of injuries. So if you're going to say, well, this wasn't his top form because he was hurt, to me, the counterpoint is he's going to get banged up a lot.
Yeah.
So then the counterpoint to that is that he was still a good running back even though he was hurt, and when he's healthy, he's elite. To me, I think you question his shelf life in the NFL if he's going to run like that. I mean, you could make the argument that he ends up as Marshawn Lynch, which is certainly possible, but that's really hoping for the best of the best in that situation, in my opinion.
Absolutely. DJ, did you
I said the exact same thing to
did.
Ben yesterday. I was like, should I be watching 2016 tape of Geis?
His 2017 is less. If you're going to watch 2017, you want to throw on Notre Dame because that's the game where he's healthy and you can really see it. But yeah, he didn't have the same speed, quickness, and power that he did in 2016.
No. Yeah, okay. Good.
I had
I'll
two.
go back and watch more.
Yeah, so that's the thing. If you don't, there are a couple guys like that in the class, like Kerryon Johnson. When you watch, like some of his games he has an ankle injury, some of the games he has a hamstring injury. So you might question his speed if you're not aware that he has a hamstring injury. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain nuanced players like that where you really gotta make sure they're healthy. Royce Freeman is another guy that's never healthy. He plays all the games, but he's always banged up.
Yeah, and he's got wings.
Yeah, and he's got wings. If he
Breaking
could
news.
fly, though, that would make him RB1 for me. That would be a huge advantage.
Hey, I got a question quick for you, Elliot. Why are you like half on the screen and half off the screen?
I don't know. It's the way my camera's... Because when I set the camera
I've been staring at fucking towels this whole time, wondering what you've been doing with those
He's
towels.
in the bathroom.
So, yeah, that's my girlfriend's...
Your girlfriend's a
those are
towel?
all my girlfriend's towels. No, my girlfriend is not a towel. This is
My
not South
girlfriend's a
Park.
towel sometimes.
Can we copyright that message that DJ just said?
Oh, God.
My girlfriend's a towel sometimes. Elliot, I had two questions I wanted to ask you about Geis. Because I was a big fan of the idea. You liked pairing potentially Chubb with McCaffrey. I like the idea of pairing Geis with McCaffrey in Carolina. DJ wasn't as big of a fan of that. What are your thoughts on that pairing?
I think that the draft capital you'd have to take him with is too high for what the Panthers are. I think the Panthers have a lot of holes. I mean, Geis and McCaffrey would be an amazing pairing. Be the best pairing in the NFL. But that would be my issue with it, is the draft capital you'd have to spend. For me, I'd like to see him go to Detroit, and they run a lot of scheme stuff that's really good for him. Theo Riddick could be that receiving back.
Yeah, but they have Amir Abdullah, so that's not possible.
That's true. They do have Amir Abdullah, who's proven to be a very good NFL player.
Yeah, very, very reliable.
I think DJ's dream fantasy backfield would be Rex Burkhead paired with Amir Abdullah, and he wouldn't care about the injuries, about the lack of production, anything. He would just be in love with it.
I'd give him the ball.
My second question was...
Don't care that he fumbles all the time either.
No, fuck that. My second question, let's hypothetically say he goes to the Lions. What % chance do you give guys on topping 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns, which were basically Fournette's rookie numbers?
Oh, real good shot.
Nice. That's saying something. That's a good fantasy impact as well out of a rookie.
Yeah. The question is what his receiving ability is. Like he's got a good floor. My questions for him are his receiving ability and his durability issues. People love to pick and choose which prospects they have durability issues for.
Right.
But like his violent running style screams durability issues, and then he has durability issues. So for me, the fact that he's getting a pass on durability issues blows my mind.
That contact seeking scares the fuck out of me.
Yeah, he wants to run through your face.
He wants to hit you. Like that, I guess that's the same idea of Fournette, and I was huge on him, but I just think Fournette can withstand it a little bit more than Geis, but obviously he's had his issues as well.
Well, that's
I mean, even if you look at like Marion Barber, look how good he was.
Yeah.
And then he just fell off the planet. Yeah. Like I looked up his stuff the other day. Like he went from like 1,200 yards rushing to a year later out of the NFL.
Yeah.
That's kind of similar to what Eddie Lacy was. Like Packers fans were in love with Eddie Lacy for a couple of years. I'm like, dude, he's not gonna last running the way he did. And literally, he had like 2,000 yard seasons, and then see you later. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the contact seekers, that's tough. Well, let's get into the number one guy. I think this is going to be the best breakdown yet because I feel like I might be in the minority here.
You're in the minority. Oh, am I going to have to yell at you about Saquon Barkley?
You're going to have to yell at me. And it's not the ranking. I'm fine with him being the number one guy. I'm fine with that. It's the draft position.
In the draft.
Where he's getting picked,
he's the number one guy in the draft. He's the number one running back on earth.
Yep. Besides, and Le'Veon Bell, so.
I would take him over Le'Veon Bell.
Ooh.
Wow, bold prediction.
And keep in mind, part of that is the fact that Le'Veon Bell is 26 years old and has a ton of mileage on his body, and you're getting Barkley, who just turned 21. So, first off, my player comp for Saquon Barkley is God. No, but on a serious note, he's like David Johnson meets LaShawn McCoy. And he's the best athletic running back prospect we maybe have ever seen. I mean, the comparisons are Bo Jackson, but you look at his stuff, and everything was 98th or 99th percentile.
Yeah.
And you're talking about a guy that stumbled. He literally stumbled on his second run and ran 4.4. Like, that's absurd. But, like, let's just talk about Barkley's ability. First thing that makes him special, and the reason that he's such a high prospect, is that his route running and catching the football it's so good. I mean, he caught over 50 passes last year. He was lined up out wide, he was lined up in the slot. Over 20% of his routes were in the slot. Like, he does a lot of that stuff. He can do a lot more than flare routes. He can do pivots, he can do outs, he can do wheel routes, he can do a bunch of different things that are going to get him in space. And what makes him such a special player is, and I was talking about this with John Kelly earlier, but like, if you put him on a team that's running 12 or 11 personnel, which it's just 12. Yep. The second number is how many tight ends are on the field.
Yep.
You're going to create matchup issues all the time. So if you run 12 personnel with, like, let's say he goes to the Bucs and you have O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate, like, how do you stop that? Because if you run 12 personnel out there and the team has 3 linebackers to match up, then you just split Barkley and Cameron Brate out wide, and then you have matchup issues the whole time. Okay, so we're going to counter that by DBs. Now I get Saquon Barkley running up against cornerbacks. Like, there's really no way to counter a guy like Saquon Barkley, and that's what makes him so special, because he's the best receiving back that I've ever evaluated. Now, you want to talk about his ability as a runner, he's a game breaker. That's what he is. And people are going to say, well, he bounces the ball outside too much. Yeah, well, the counter-argument to that is that, according to Graham Barfield's study, he averages over 9 yards per carry outside the tackle.
Wow.
So, like, you can complain about it, but if it works all the time, yeah, sure, you can find your 5 gifts and have fun on Twitter where he missed a hole. Absolutely, he will do that. But like, his ability to run through contact is special. His ability to make people miss is special. His balance is absurd. you're talking about a guy that's 6 feet, 233, that runs incredibly fast. No one's going to catch him. He's going to run through you. He's going to make you miss. His balance is going to be absurd. He's going to be a great receiver. The only knock is that sometimes he bounces the ball outside too much. And I think that you can, A, tell him not to do that, or B, learn to live with it. It's one of those situations like, we really have a guy who 95% of his runs are the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But the 5% are the thing we're complaining about. That's like getting pissed off the valedictorian got an A- one time. Like, they're still pretty smart. It's going to be okay. It doesn't mean that you find the B student and you just move them on up over the A student. Like, people are trying to be different with Barkley for the sake of being different. And you were talking a little bit earlier about why I think that he's a lock to go top 10. There were reports that he might not go top 10, to which I tweeted every one of those people, please bet me. None of them responded. But, like, if you're the Giants and you take him, it's because you believe in Eli Manning, and then he basically makes your offense indefensible.
Nobody
because
knows
of which,
Eli Manning.
well, but Shermer and Gettleman allegedly do.
No.
Okay. But, like, if you're going to do that, it's basically because you just have so many weapons on the field that no one can stop him. And the reason you take him and the reason he has value is his receiving ability. I mean, if you want to be sold on Saquon Barkley, you watch the Iowa game because it's the best running back film you can find. And he's also, by the way, a great pass protector. He's great in pass protection. Graham Barfield's study showed that in his 3 years of doing this, the only pass protector that was better than him was Ezekiel Elliott. And Elliott finished with a 94 score, and Barkley finished with a 93. So he's right there with Elliott. And remember, everyone was talking about how Zeke was the best pass protecting running back they've seen. He's on that level.
Yeah, I love the valedictorian argument, because if you're trying to find something wrong with him, you're nitpicking. And I totally agree with every single thing you said. He's an elite prospect. I want to give DJ an opportunity here. Do you want to add anything more about him, or do you want me to make an argument?
I guess he talked about a lot about what an argument was, except for the fact that you don't think he should be taken in the top 5 because running backs are a dime a dozen. And I was just going to have Elliott convince you on the reason why he should be.
Well, do you want me to go, and then we'll have Elliot chime in with a counter?
Sure.
Well, first, let me ask you this, Elliot. Where do you think he'll be drafted? Which team do you think would take him?
I think he's going 2. He may go 1 overall.
And I get that, and I think both of them have needs at running back, and I wouldn't say that the pick is dumb. Let me start by saying that. My argument against Saquon Barkley is not just against him. It's about running backs as a whole. And my argument that I always go to is I would rather have the team with the great offensive line and the average running back over the team with the average offensive line and the great running back. I'd put so much more stock in that great offensive line that I don't want to say that you can just put whoever back there and be successful, but if you look at the guys that produce every year, it's kind of all over the board. Look at the last 5 Super Bowl winners this year. The Eagles. Oh, you guys got me back?
Yeah.
All right, I'm just talking about the last 5 Super Bowl winners. This year was the Eagles. LeGarrette Blount finished 21st in rushing. The year before that was New England. LeGarrette Blount finished 8th in rushing. First of all, just go sign LeGarrette Blount. You're guaranteed to win the Super Bowl. 3 years ago, Denver, Ronnie Hillman finished 14th in rushing. The year before that, New England, Jonas Gray finished 47th. And then finally, if you go back 5 years, Marshawn Lynch finished 6th. And so you finally get to a team that had a stud running back. And now, can you guess how many running backs finished in the top 15 in rushing yards last year who were actually drafted in the first round? Do you have a guess on that?
It's probably not a ton of them.
It's only 6. Now, how many of those guys were drafted in the top 5?
I mean, Fournette was, Zeke was, but Zeke didn't rush for 1,000 this past year because of suspension. You could talk about Gurley at 8. You could talk about Gordon at, 14?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, you can miss on any position. So here's the counter argument. If you're going to take him as the Giants, what you're going to then do is you're going to back up the brink trucks for Norwell. You're going to sign one of the best guards in the league, and you're going to use your pick in the top half of the second draft to build your interior even more with a guy like the kid from Iowa, the center, I'm blanking his name, Daniels, I want to say, Billy Price, Hernandez from UTEP. Like, this interior class is really deep, but I agree with you that running backs are a dime a dozen in between the tackles, and that was my point with Chubb and Penny earlier. Receiving backs that can do everything are not a dime a dozen. There's 3 of them. Like, look at you want to point out the top running backs in the league: Le'Veon Bell and Todd Gurley and David Johnson, right?
Mm-hmm.
These guys are the ones that you split out a wide receiver and they change an offense completely. Like, look how much the Rams' offense improved. And I know we're going to talk about Sean McVay, but it's because they started using Gurley as a receiver. Look at what the Steelers are able to do with Le'Veon Bell and splitting him out wide. Look at what literally David Johnson. That's all the Cardinals do with him. They move him in the slot and they create all these matchup issues. The difficult thing is finding one of these receiving backs like a Chris Thompson that can also handle 20 carries a game. And they don't really exist, and that's what makes Saquon Barkley so rare. And, you know, you were talking about the last few running backs, the teams to win the Super Bowl. So let's start off with the Eagles this year. Corey Clement caught 4 passes for 100 yards. You want to go on the other side of the ball, Rex Burkhead and James White were really good receiving backs. Like, the receiving back aspect of those teams is what made them quit.
Yeah, but where did all those guys get drafted? All those
Right,
guys.
where did Tom Brady get drafted? Are we not going to draft quarterbacks because a quarterback went in the 6th round? I mean, you could find it. You name me a position, and I can find late round steal.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. And like I said, Saquon Barkley, you're getting a great guy. You can take him 1 overall, and I'm not going to argue with it too much. I'm just saying there's so many of these running backs. I mean, look at Kareem Hunt. Look at David Johnson himself. Look at Alvin Kamara. All these guys are 3rd round and later guys that are now the top of the league.
If you could go back and redraft last year, would you take Kamara or Kareem Hunt in the 1st round?
Oh, you absolutely can.
Yeah, you absolutely would. So, like, that's a little bit, isn't that like hindsight analysis? Like, you can always make the argument that you could get a good player in the next round. And listen, this running back class is deep, and if you miss on Saquon Barkley, you could absolutely get a good player. But what Barkley can do, only a few players can do. That's what makes him worth the 1st round pick, because you're not talking about a normal running back. I mean, that Broncos team, you could point out to Ronnie Hillman, but they won because they had an elite defense.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they won the Super Bowl. Like, the offense isn't even really, you can't really use it. You want to talk about some of the best teams in the NFL this year, you go back to the Rams, you go back to the Steelers and what they did with their running backs. I mean, the Panthers made the playoffs with a great running back, right? I mean, I wish I had the teams in front of me, but the Chiefs had a great running back. Granted, Kareem Hunt went in the 3rd round, and that's part of your point, but to me, if I get the sure thing that's going to be the superstar player, I'm taking it. I mean, you talk about the other top players in the draft, you're talking about Quentin Nelson, who's a guard. That's not a premium position. You talk about Minka Fitzpatrick, who plays strong safety / slot corner. Regardless of what everyone pretends that he plays, that's what he plays, and that's not a premium position in the NFL. You could talk about Bradley Chubb as a defensive end, but what he did best this past year was stop the run, not rush the passer. He's a good pass rusher. He's not an elite pass rusher. So the top blue chip guys in the draft aren't at premium positions. You give me Saquon Barkley, where I know everything I'm getting, and he's this elite. Again, I can't stress this enough. The reason that he's not your typical running back, he's not Leonard Fournette last year, is because he's the pass catcher, and that changes an offense.
I get that.
That's my point. It's like,
no, I was just saying, I get that. I respect it. I totally see it. I think I've told DJ, it's kind of this is like a politics debate. Like, you got a Republican yelling at a Democrat, and you think they're going to change their mind. And I mean, that's just you can never win with that debate. I just see teams winning with running backs that they're not investing these top 5, top 10 draft picks in.
Well, couldn't you make the argument that you point any team in the NFL that won, there are 12 teams that made the playoffs, and every one of them had a hole, and sometimes all their holes were different?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm just sitting back enjoying this. So.
No, it's
not very often that I don't talk, but I was just listening.
No,
I mean, like, you could point out to the Vikings, they didn't win with a quarterback. Neither did the Jaguars. Neither did the Eagles.
Whoa. Let's back up on the Jaguars and their quarterback, all right? Blake Bortles is God.
You got to remember that DJ's fantasy team would be...
I don't know which god he is, but it's got to be like the Greek god of average.
I love Blake Bortles.
the Greek god of average.
Yeah, I get the person thing. The whole, when he was like, if you play football, what would you do? I would just smoke cigs and...
Yeah, ripping cigs, doing construction. I love that guy.
Hey, at the end of the day, we got to have the debate. We both got to have an argument, and we both, obviously have points. And I'm gonna say that I won just because I can. We can move on, and I can.
Because this is our podcast.
No, I'm just screwing with you, Elliot. I love having that debate because not everyone's gonna see eye to eye on everything, and that's what makes football good. That's what makes fantasy football good. Whatever. I just want to.
You just got dextered by him.
But could you make that argument with a bunch of teams? And the hardest part is that you almost have to throw New England out of the conversation.
Yeah,
whenever you make any of these, because it's like Belichick and Brady and everything else, and if you believe that, then you believe you don't need a number one receiver.
Well,
right?
exactly, and you could say the same thing for Green Bay once they get back and win a Super Bowl. Like, you got to throw teams like that with the greatest quarterback in the world out of the argument.
And then Ertz and Gronk are two of the best tight ends in the league, so is tight end now the most important position because they both made the Super Bowl? Like, it gets so tricky when you try to look at other teams, but the thing that has always held true to me is that quarterback is the most important, and then you try to play matchups. You try to constantly get your guys in the best matchups, and what Barkley does is he's an elite athlete that will always be in good matchups, and he will create good matchups for everyone else on your team, which is why I think he doesn't fall into the running back conversation, because in general, I agree with you, these players aren't first-round value.
And that's the best argument. Like you said, the whole matchup thing. I think it was last podcast, DJ and I were talking, and we said whichever team drafts Barkley, it'll be a shame if he gets like under 50, 60 catches. Like, that guy should be catching a ton of balls. And he should be like LT, where he caught like 80 to 100 balls a year. Absolutely. There's no
Just
reason
get
he
that man
shouldn't
in
be.
space, and you're going to be like, oh, man, this is the right decision taking this guy.
Yeah. DJ, do you want to add anything more about Barkley, or should we hit up Mitchell? Or not Mitchell. I called you Mitchell.
Jesus Christ.
Mitchell's friend Eliot.
Done with that.
That just tells me we have Mitchell Renz on too much if I'm just calling everyone Mitchell.
Yeah.
But you're welcome for the shout out there, Mitch. I know you're listening. Eliot, you got a couple seconds for some rapid fire?
Of course.
All right. Some of these you might have to do a little bit more than just a quick one-word answer, but you know how rapid fire works. All right, here we go. Leading off. Running back with the best hands in the draft.
Saquon Barkley.
Yep, I knew that was coming.
Hottest girl from a 1990s sitcom.
Jennifer Aniston?
We don't really count her. Try again.
I'm currently struggling to think of 1990s sitcoms.
Okay, they could be like 10 in the 90s, but like once they reached 18.
So I was thinking about this too, DJ. If we wanted to try to make us not sound as much like pervy, we could have said that got made famous because of being in a 90s sitcom.
Yeah.
But that's lame. Just to give you a quick heads up, Eliot, in case you haven't seen it, we're doing our barely 18 Sweet 16 bracket. And we're almost through round one, and it's the hottest girl from a 90s sitcom. That's why I asked you the question.
You're welcome to throw out a couple names, and I'll tell you who's hotter, but no one's like popping my head right now.
Well, you've got here's the four that are 2 1 seeds and 2 2 seeds. You've got Kelly Kapowski, Ashley Banks, Kelly Bundy, and Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen.
Well, I'll go Mary-Kate and Ashley because I get 2.
Yes, finally someone picked up on it.
That's the argument I had against that, is that like it's not like who would you fuck, because they would be number 1 seed. It's the hottest. So that's my issue with that one.
Oh, I like it. I like though that Eliot took the joke and he ran with it. So let's return to rapid fire. Best running back. I know you talked a lot about pass protection. Best running back in this class in pass protection.
Saquon Barkley.
Nah, damn it! You're gonna
If you
ruin
ask
this.
a running back question, then it's gonna be Saquon Barkley.
Oh, there's another one.
That's not true. It's not true.
There's another one coming up. Early prediction, pre-college basketball bracket release. Who's your pick to win the March Madness tournament, other than Duke?
Nova.
Nice. Running back with the best NFL combine. Saquon Barkley.
Spoiler, Saquon. Just so I have a different answer.
All right, here you'll have a different one. Running back with the worst NFL combine.
Ooh. Running back with the worst NFL combine. Mark Walton did not have a good combine.
Nice.
Honestly, Darius Geis didn't have a good combine. You know what? He caught the ball well, and his 40 times fine, and that's teams are going to care about that more. But I'll go with Mark Walton.
Mark Walton, winner of the Dolphins-Ram trade involving Robert Quinn.
Dolphins.
What the fuck?
I don't even get how this is. Like, was he great last year? No, he wasn't very good. But you're talking about a 29-year-old pass rusher we've seen elite production out of for what, a 4th-round pick? And
Yeah.
And then his contract is such that if he doesn't work out this year, you just cut him at the end of the year.
Right.
Give me the guy that has a huge chance to succeed. By the way, if it wasn't Saquon Barkley, best combine would go to Bo Scarborough.
Ooh, nice.
That was a guy I wanted to talk about too.
Yeah, I had a question about him. Let's go through some rapid fires, then we'll end with some Bo talk. And thanks for making me feel better as a Dolphins fan there. Top thing you look for from a college running back when trying to predict future NFL success?
Saquon Barkley.
That's hilarious, but at the same time, if that's something I've learned in general, and I know this is not rapid fire, but if you watch certain players after you watch other players, it can really affect your evaluation, even if you don't realize it. So watching Saquon Barkley and then watching Royce Freeman, that's going to be unfair to Royce Freeman because he doesn't move like Saquon Barkley,
right.
and you're going to almost mentally do that. I forgot the question though. What was the question?
Top thing you look for from a running back when trying to predict future NFL success.
For me personally, it's going to be catching/route running, but vision is going to be something that's really important.
The most you see a team giving up for Jarvis Landry, and who does it?
I think Jarvis Landry ends up on the Jets if they get Kirk Cousins.
Ooh.
Sounds like they think he's going to go to Minnesota.
Yeah, I think right now you're just watching agents play games to try to...
Yeah, maybe.
Most I would give up for Jarvis Landry because I have to include the contract as a third-round pick. I do think Jarvis Landry is a good player despite the fact that he doesn't do a lot of work downfield. That's also not his role.
Right.
Where do I think he ends up?
Yep.
I have no idea. If I'm the Browns, I'm doing it in a heartbeat. I have so much draft capital and money to spend, and I'm not going to spend it on good players, but I have to spend a bunch of money. So if I'm the Browns, that's what I would do.
Best chance of being 2018's version of Kareem Hunt.
John Kelly.
Ooh, yes. Biggest fantasy football impact in 2018 from rookie running backs outside of Saquon Barkley.
Saquon Barkley. This is really tough to do without landing spot, but
Yeah.
I'll go Darius, guys.
Yep, I was going to add that in there, but I figured you assumed it. All right, let's talk Scarborough real quick, and then we'll wrap this puppy up. Do you have your rankings in front of you still and deep enough to get to him?
Yeah, we thought Saquon. Sorry, Scarborough.
Saquon's just on everyone's mind
He
now.
says in his head. C3 sleeves eat Saquon Barkley. I love it.
Listen, I bought the Saquon Barkley jersey, and every time I do a podcast that's only about Saquon, I wear it. So
I love it.
I'm all in on wearing my Superman pajamas.
Nice.
The question I had for Scarborough was, is he more of a familiar name due to the fact that he plays for Alabama and he had solid games on national TV during the college football playoffs when everyone's watching? Or do you think he's a guy that's going to end up making a name for himself in the league?
It's tough because his 2017 wasn't very good. I was very high on him coming into the year because, one, you can tell he's a freak athlete. He takes some build-up speed, but any big backs going through, he's a big target to hit. He catches the ball pretty well. He was Alabama's second leading receiver on the year. He didn't really have a whole lot of competition outside of Calvin Ridley because Jalen Hurts can't throw the football, but, he was. In 2016, that stretch, it was against Washington, it was against Clemson, it was like 3 games before that, he looked like Derrick Henry. He just looked otherworldly. And then you saw him. Well, yeah, you're talking about. Have you seen his high school picture?
Don't look at it if you're scared of big people.
He's 15 years old and he looks like he's like 30. Oh my, dude, that is the most intimidating picture ever.
I'm convinced Nick Saban has like a machine that just pumps these kids out, and they're automatically going to Alabama before they were born.
Well, they got the 8th grader who's like 320.
Yeah, it's because he already had a mom or dad pumping these babies out for him.
Are you accusing Nick Saban of
Scarborough
artificially inseminating?
The combine's going to move him up the draft board. You're going to see him going the full round. His ceiling is high, but his floor is low. He could very easily have a LeGarrette Blount type career.
Right.
As a better pass catcher. He could also be on. He's never going to have that opportunity. You know what I mean? Without injury, he's never going to be expected to be that guy. Where I think to be Trent Richardson, you need to be a first-round guy.
Yeah.
If Scarborough goes in the 4th or 5th round and flames out, no one's going to ever compare him to Trent Richardson. Viewers going to forget who he was.
Good point. Good point. That's like what Saquon's going to do after being a top 5 pick. So thank you once again for listening. No, I'm just giving you shit. Thank you very much.
Saquon Barkley has 2,000 all-purpose yards next year and wins Rookie of the Year, and you didn't draft him in your fantasy draft, and I'm going to really look forward to us talking next year.
He won't draft him in his fantasy draft because I'll get him before him. No, that's what it'll be.
That's true.
You can lock and load him in the first round. Right?
I was going to do the same thing with Leonard Fournette this last year. I was going to grab him in the first round. I'm definitely taking Saquon if he's there, and no matter what.
Yeah, there's no way I'm going to get him. He's going to go way too high, and like DJ said, he'll trade up ahead of me just to get him. Nice. Elliot, do you want to tell everybody where to find the content that you put out?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can follow me on Twitter at Eliot Crist, 1L, 1T, no H in Chris.
You've said that before.
I have, because that's how people spell it all the time. No one has ever heard my name and spelled it right the first time. But
I still don't spell it right.
listen, I have good friends that still hit me up like, hey, Elliot, and then spell it Elliot. I'm like, I don't know who this person is. We've been friends for 15 years now. It's okay for you to learn how to spell my name. Yeah. But the big thing I'm working on right now is the Draft Daily podcast, and every single day I have a new guest on, and we break down a player for about 15 to 20 minutes. It's unique in the fact that you get really in-depth information on a single prospect, and you don't have to listen to an hour's worth of podcast or kind of all that other stuff. I'm trying to create a complete profile of players for everybody by the draft. The goal is to get over 100 podcasts. So far, the podcast has been up for 33 days, and we have 33 podcasts up. So if you're really looking to find out about a player, that's the place to do it.
Nice, that's awesome. I look forward to coming on and talking about Saquon with you. So yeah, make sure you follow Elliot. He's got great content. One of the best Twitter
Elliot
followers
as well,
you can
I'm
have.
convinced that you don't know how to spell your own name.
That's awesome. No,
I had to throw that out there.
definitely follow him on Twitter. Like I said, great Twitter follower, smartest guy I know. Follow us on Twitter as well, at Loaded Box. Follow along with our March Madness bracket. We're having a good time with that. Check out our website for our latest blogs, fantasy football rankings, all that jazz, loadedboxpodcast.wordpress.com. Next episode will be in a few days. I forgot which division we're breaking down, but damn it, we're going to break it down. And I think that's all I got. So how about one of you two say something to finish this off?
Bye.
Saquon Barkley's good.